Welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. This is episode 46. I'm the Muscle Deficient Vegan here with the Protein Deficient Vegan. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So this week, we're going to talk about whether you should eat before your workouts and also discuss our myth of the week, which is that you can't be vegan if you're allergic to soy. But first up, new news. First piece of news we have is that Forks Over Knives, which is an organization that had a documentary probably 10 years ago at this point, maybe more. They also have like a meal planning app, a recipe website, a book. They got a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, mostly focused on like plant-based and whole food plant-based, not necessarily like vegan.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are going to be closing down their operations. They sent out an email to all their subscribers and course members and things like that, saying that they're shutting down. They're not going to be giving refunds because there were like lifetime subscriptions and annual subscriptions and stuff like that. And then I think you were subscribed to one of their courses and you got an email basically saying, this course is going away forever in a week. Good luck.
Yeah. There was like no notice, which frankly, very annoying.
Yeah.
They were like, you have 10 days. Good luck.
Right. Yeah. So
fuck you, Forks Over Knives.
It's unfortunate. I think I saw that I guess they were sold to an organization called The Beat back in 2021. And since then, they had been softening the lines on some of their whole food plant-based stuff. Like originally, they were really strict about no oil. They started to kind of say, oh, okay, maybe you can have oil, maybe you can't. And a couple of other things to kind of make it more palatable for a wider audience. I guess this is just a kind of a continuation of that decision. They did take their mailing list and their subscribers and some other things, and they sold that to Food Revolution Network, who they said is a trusted partner they've worked with for a long time.
How do we feel about that? I feel like you shouldn't be allowed to sell your subscribers unless your subscribers agree to be sold.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feels gross.
Yeah. I think you should get a choice.
Yeah.
For sure.
I looked at their social media before we got on here, and it doesn't look like they've been active on that since like March. So I don't know if they're just like leaving their...
Yeah. It doesn't look like they're active, but their website's still up. Their Instagram's still up. You can still download the apps right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't know either.
But yeah, we'll see. Next up, there was a large group of animal rights activists that recently tried to break into Ridgeland Farms in Wisconsin to release some beagles, dogs that were specifically bred for biomedical research.
Yeah, like 2,000, I think.
Yeah, 2,000 dogs. This event was publicly organized and advertised for several weeks. We saw it a lot on social media leading up to it. I was seeing it
everywhere. On Instagram, on Reddit.
Being advertised by a bunch of people that didn't end up going to the event.
I was surprised by that. I saw it advertised by a lot of like influencer types that didn't even end up going.
Yeah. So the police were there and ready, obviously, because of the public nature of this thing. And the police stated that this was not a peaceful protest, and they responded with tear gas, pepper spray, sandbag guns. I think you saw rubber bullets were deployed to try to disperse the crowd.
It's interesting because I saw some firsthand accounts on like Reddit and some other places where people were saying that they were being peaceful. So it's like some conflicting information.
I think there always is in situations like this.
Yeah.
There was one report in the news about somebody driving their truck very quickly, potentially like breaking through a fence with it.
Yeah, that's what I read too. It was like a truck got driven quickly through a fence and kind of like it maybe endangered some police people that were there.
Yeah, and some of the protesters, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seemed like the stated mission here was to break into this place and free the dogs. So I'm not sure that really aligns with a peaceful protest, but I wasn't there. So
because what I saw is it wasn't really advertised as a protest. It was advertised as like a saving the dogs mission. So
right. So the organizer of the event, along with a dozen or so other people, were arrested. The organizer had actually been arrested at the same farm for another event like this like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess he's been pushing on this farm specifically pretty hard. The farm itself is losing their breeding license in July as part of an ongoing investigation that predates this event and is not related to it, as far as I know.
It's tangentially something interesting that I had read in the news article U.S. Weekly put out yesterday. But basically it was saying something like a very significantly large amount of money was offered to the farm by anonymous donors to just buy the dogs. And I don't know where that stands, but maybe that'll get them out.
Yeah. We'll see. As far as this event goes, no dogs were actually rescued. They definitely didn't make it that far.
they did end up in US Weekly, so they're definitely getting some press from it.
Yeah. All right. And then the last piece of news we have is that there is a new meta-analysis, which is basically just a review and kind of analysis of a bunch of studies comparing plant protein to animal protein supplementation. And they looked at 18 different randomized controlled trials, which is kind of the highest form of evidence-based study. And those covered 1,900 participants.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So the results for comparing the animal protein supplementation to plant protein supplementation were that they did not show any significant differences in lean body mass, fat mass, total body mass, upper and lower muscle strength, gait speed, some short physical performance tests, lipid profiles, blood pressure, fasting blood glucose, fasting blood insulin, or an assessment they did for insulin resistance.
So this was basically just like people swapping out their animal protein powder for plant protein powder, not necessarily a plant diet, right? Like a plant-based diet?
Right. Yeah, I don't think they were necessarily even like vegans or vegetarians. It was just comparing effectively like probably a whey protein to in this case, it was actually mostly soy proteins for the plant protein.
Yeah, so like maybe an omnivore that would normally drink a whey protein powder is now drinking like a soy-based protein powder.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So that's just another, data point to show that your muscle growth is not compromised by using vegan protein sources. And, this one, there's only so much you can take away from this because it was just comparing like supplementation, like protein powder.
Right.
So it doesn't have all the other things you might expect to come along with the actual food, maybe like animal foods or stuff like that. So.
Yeah. What's interesting about this, though, is like, I'll see a lot of people like on Reddit and various other places where people are saying like, oh, like whey protein powder like gives me a stomach ache. But they're saying like, I'm not necessarily dairy intolerant, but it makes me feel like bloated and disgusting. And it's like, well, maybe those people can now be convinced they can switch to a plant-based protein powder.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of cases where, people just don't tolerate dairy very well for whatever reason. So they should probably use vegan sources for a lot of things. But yeah, definitely.
We always like science-backed studies that prove our point.
Yeah. All right. Into the main segment here. So let's talk about, should you eat before your workout? So
what do you do personally?
I don't eat like going into my workout. I just work out after I've eaten for the day at some point.
Okay.
So, typically. The main reason that it is recommended often to eat before a workout is to replenish what's called your muscle glycogen stores. Muscle glycogen is the way that your body stores carbohydrate energy inside of your muscle tissue. So it's actually inside the muscle itself. And you can think of it as a local energy reserve that your muscles tap into during exercise. So like if you're doing bicep curls or something, your biceps are using the glycogen stored inside the bicep to do that exercise. Okay. When the glycogen stores are full, you perform better in various ways, whether that's like getting through your whole workout, doing extra reps, not feeling fatigued, things like that. And when it's depleted, you get more fatigued and you have noticeable drops in your performance. So the main way to replenish your muscle glycogen stores is to eat carbohydrates to get glucose.
There are simple or complex carbs. Is one better than the other?
Basically, just in terms of speed. If you want to have it happen pretty quickly, you can go with a simple carbohydrate kind of on its own.
Just sugar?
Yeah, sugar.
Straight up sugar?
Straight up sugar.
Pixie sticks?
If you're doing low carb for some reason that I will never understand, your body also has a less efficient mechanism to create glucose from non-carb sources like protein called gluconeogenesis.
Wow.
You'll see carnivore people talk about gluconeogenesis a lot because they don't eat carbs.
They can spell that?
Well, yeah. They copy and paste it pretty well. But it's not ideal because it's limited in how much glycogen it can create. It's a pretty slow process in general. So it's not ideal for performance. But if in a situation where you're pretty restricted on carbs, your body can create its own glycogen. So just so you know that. And now that the sciencey gobbledygook is out of the way, let's talk about whether or not this means you need to eat before your workout. So generally speaking, as long as you've eaten at some point in the day before your workout, you're probably going to have enough glycogen stored up to be able to make it through a lifting session. So when you ask kind of what do I do, I typically I work out later in the day anyway, like usually in the afternoon or evening. So I've already eaten by then. So this isn't something I really have to consider because my sessions are only like an hour, hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So as long as you have had some carbohydrates at some point in the same day as your workout, your glycogen stores are almost definitely sufficient enough to just make it through a short like lifting session. It might be different if you're going for like a marathon or a bike ride or something like that.
Or like a long hiking trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything that's like a long duration, you definitely probably want to, that's why runners do carb loading basically, is to, make sure those muscle stores are full as much as possible. So where you might end up making a decision about how much to eat before you do a workout is if you're somebody who likes doing fasted workouts, like first thing in the morning, because at that point you've basically gone from dinner all the way to the next day. So you might go into your workout, your glycogen stores are a little low, you start doing your workout and they get like much lower and you start noticing a performance impact. So in that case, you might perform a little better if you have some carbs before your workout intentionally. And that can kind of be a balance. I know some people just don't like food in their stomach when they go to work out. So
especially if you're doing stuff like deadlifts and you're like bending over and I don't know.
Right. So if it makes you feel better, then you don't necessarily have to eat beforehand. But if you notice like you're getting pretty tired halfway through the workout, maybe try eating some carbs and you feel a little better. How much time you need to do this before your workout kind of depends on the type of carb, like you were talking about earlier a little bit, kind of simple carbs, complex carbs.
Protein.
Protein
that goes through glycogenesis.
Yeah, you'll need like 12 hours for that one. I wouldn't. But
like, what is it? Gluconeogenesis.
Yeah, basically creating new glucose. Gluconeogenesis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sega Genesis.
Yeah, and then so simple carbs, which means sugar, something that
or white bread.
White bread.
What about white rice?
White rice is a simple carb.
What about apples?
So it's tricky with an apple because the fructose in an apple would be a simple carb.
So it's both?
Yeah, but it's not really going to act the same because there's a lot of fiber in an apple.
Okay.
But yeah, a simple carb like sugar digest quicker and they restore your glycogen faster. But a complex carb like a brown rice or a sweet potato would take a little longer. So if you're doing simple carbs pre-workout, I'd give it 30 to 60 minutes to digest and absorb and do what it needs to do. And that's not going to fill your stores up completely, but it's going to kind of top them off. It gets you enough to get through the workout session. And then the closer you are to the training, like if you're really in a pinch, you're like 20 minutes out from training and you are fasted and maybe you even worked out since the last time you ate, something like that, you think maybe your glycogen's really depleted, then I would take these simple carbs with as little fat and fiber as possible because both of those will slow down the absorption. And then as far as how much carbohydrate, 20 grams to 40 grams is probably good. It depends on basically how hard you think the session is going to be and how long it's going to be. If you're just going in for like a 30 to 45 minute lifting session, 20 grams is probably going to be fine for you. It also kind of depends on body weight. So if you're bigger, maybe you take a little more.
So like a snack, probably not a full meal. Okay.
Yeah. A simple solution is like a fruit, like a banana. So you can do that. That doesn't have a whole lot of fiber in it. So you end up getting a pretty big, insulin spike, which is a pretty good sign of a simple sugar from a banana. And a banana has a big banana has the right amount of carbohydrates really that you would want for something like this.
And potassium.
There you go. Another option is that people do is like rice cakes with jelly on top. So rice is kind of a simple carb and then jelly is definitely just basically sugar. So,
yeah.
You can also just do cookies. That's pretty common. I see a lot of people just do a handful of cookies as a pre-workout carb.
A handful of cookies?
It's probably it depends on the cookie, right? If you're talking about like mini Oreos, it's probably like 24 cookies. I don't know. No, I don't know.
What? Don't eat 24 Oreos before your workout, guys. He's giving you bad information.
It's an example. Giving you inspiration.
Eat 24 cookies?
Mini Oreos.
Mini Oreos. Okay.
I don't know what the right number is. It's definitely not 24.
How many calories worth of cookies?
20 grams of sugar worth of cookies.
Okay.
So probably 2 cookies.
Not 24.
You can dream, right?
He's not good with clocks either.
There are also a supplement called maltodextrin, which is glucose that is specifically made for workout shakes.
Are those the things that come in the little packets?
It can come in packets. It usually just comes in
a gel? What are the gel things people eat?
Oh, I think those are just sugar. They're gel. They might be maltodextrin. I'm not sure. There's probably different forms, but those are just carb gels.
Yeah, I've seen like pre-workout gummies and stuff too.
Yeah.
I've never seen vegan ones, but
Yeah. There's a lot of options. The runners like the gels just because you can like keep them in your pocket and pop them. Yeah. So probably bike riders too.
But like if you're at home,
yeah,
a cheaper solution is like a banana or an apple or 2 cookies.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, the banana is the best option. The maltodextrin supplement's also really cheap, but you got to go through like if you're making a pre-workout drink anyway, you could throw it in there. But if you're just like, I just care about the carbs, just grab a banana.
Couldn't you just throw a couple tablespoons of sugar in your pre-workout? Yeah. And for the same effect and way cheaper?
Yeah, I guess you could, but I think it's not quite as sweet.
Oh, okay. So you get no benefit.
So you could use sugar, but maltodextrin actually converts quicker because it's already broken down. So it's actually a more pure form of simple carbohydrate than sugar is even.
What does it taste like?
I don't know. I've never actually used it. I just know it exists. I've never had a need for it. I like bananas.
That's what she said.
Okay. Oh, man. This is also a good opportunity to add some protein if you are using something like a maltodextrin or even a banana.
Do you get protein from your bananas?
No, but when I used to go to a gym, I would always have a banana in the car waiting with a protein shake, and I'd eat the banana and drink the protein shake right after I got out of the gym.
Okay. After you worked out?
Yeah, that was post-workout.
Okay. Should you eat protein before you work out? Is that what you're saying too?
So you don't have to eat protein before you work out, but you do probably want protein around your workout somewhere. So if you're already like eating a banana or making a shake or something, you could just throw the protein in there and then you won't have to really worry about it after the workout.
So a shake before you work out and after?
No, I only did it after.
So when would I eat protein with my banana?
You could do it before, and then you don't have to do it after.
I thought you had to eat protein after.
No, you don't have to eat protein after.
Okay.
Just either before or after. As long as you eat your protein like 2 hours before to 2 hours after your workout, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. There you go. Now you know.
The more you know.
I hope that's not trademarked.
The more you know. TM.
Yeah. And as a general rule, the harder and longer the session is going to be, the more pre-workout carbs might help you. And especially like if you're already going into it, like we were saying, fasted or something crazy like that. And it will almost never hurt. Other than people who have like stomach discomfort, don't like food in their stomach, there's not really any downside to having a bunch of carbs before your workout, as long as you can go through the workout without feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah, it doesn't make you nauseous or icky.
Yeah, and after your workout, especially if you have a pretty high training volume in general, like throughout the week, or you need shorter recovery times, maybe you're working out like every day for 6 days in a row or something, it's good to try to get some carbs in as well after the workout to replenish the stores you just used during the workout. Some people do 2 workouts a day, whether that's like 2 lifting sessions a day, or you just do cardio in the morning, lifting in the evening, something like that. And I would say, after your first workout, have some carbs and probably a lot. I'd have like a meal, right, with real carbs. And then, you fill the glycogen stores back up for whatever you have coming later in the day. Or if you're working out before you go to work and your job is like a really physically intensive job, it's another use case for that. You're going to want to have, your muscles available to you during your job.
So basically, you should eat carbs.
Right. Bonus tip, there's also something interesting called carbohydrate rinsing. This isn't probably super practical for most people, but I think it's an interesting thing to know about. If you're very depleted on glycogen and you have like a pretty intense and long workout, you can actually just take a carbohydrate source like the maltodextrin we talked about and rinse your mouth out with it. And it'll trick your body into thinking you have more glycogen than you do.
Why would you do that instead of just drinking it?
So the only real good reason I can think of is if you're trying to conserve calories, you don't actually have to ingest the sugar.
But you're like working out enough to need glucose, right?
Yeah. And in the case where this actually makes a measurable difference, you're working out like a lot, like a really long bike riding session is, I think, the part of the study. And, you would probably want the extra calories and the extra actual glucose and probably the water.
The water?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just thinking like, okay, I've been biking for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm so tired. And I have this beverage, right, that has water and like some form of sugar.
Yeah.
But instead of drinking that and getting hydrated and getting energy, I'm just going to rinse my mouth out and spit it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was the study. Yeah.
Okay. You know what? There's this phrase of like, if I don't understand it, that just means it's not for me.
Yeah.
So it's probably for someone else.
Yeah, some biker out there is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. If you're that biker, let us know.
Sure. But either way, like I said in the beginning, it's not super practical, but it is kind of cool to know. And it's like a placebo thing where your body can react and perform better just based off of like a quick swish of some maltodextrin.
Is it the flavor or can I do it with gum?
I don't think you can do it with gum. Because the way they did the study was the people who actually got the maltodextrin, they had a maltodextrin that was sweetened with sucralose. And then the control group, the placebo group, was just sucralose. So the group that just got sucralose, it didn't work on it. It had to be actual maltodextrin or actual carbohydrate.
So then if your body's like absorbing that, do you get calories from a swoosh?
I don't think your body's absorbing it because you're not drinking it.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like some woo-woo shit. I don't know.
It works. I do think it's interesting that it works with the maltodextrin and not the sucralose because you would think that your mouth is just like, oh, sweet, I have carbohydrate. Yeah. But that's apparently not how it works.
Interesting. Completely unrelated, I saw this TikTok of this lady that was completing a marathon, okay?
Yeah.
And I guess, now, I've never completed a marathon. I don't like running. But I guess my understanding is you'll give snacks to people that are maybe like they're supporting you at different mile markers.
Yeah.
And so she gave snacks to her husband for her to eat at like a certain mile marker.
I know this story. Okay, go ahead.
No. That motherfucker ate those snacks and she got to like the mile marker and was like, can I have my snacks? And he had the audacity to be like, I was really hungry, so I ate them.
I can't even imagine.
Immediate divorce, right? Like, what? What are you doing? But she did finish the marathon.
That's cool.
And I hope she immediately went to the courthouse. But that's just...
After she got some snacks.
After she got some snacks from not her husband.
That's very disappointing.
I would be shopping around at the finish line for a new husband that had pockets full of snacks for me.
Yeah. So as long as we were talking about drinking during a bike ride or something like that, we can also talk about carbs during a workout. So intra-workout shakes and intra-workout carbs are something you might commonly see. That basically just means drinking carbs during your workout.
Can you eat carbs during your workout?
Sure. Yeah. Ingesting carbs during your workout. It's just most people don't stop the workout to eat. They'll just do it in a drink. But it's, they could.
Yeah. Well, isn't that like, I see people with the gummies and shit.
Yeah. The gummies, I think, have kind of blurred the lines. You won't see most people eating a protein bar in the middle of their workout, but they definitely do gummies. So yeah, that makes sense. And the gels, like you were talking about for like the runners and bikers.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are marketed pretty heavily. You can use intra-workout carbs, but you're only likely to really need them if you are doing like a real long distance thing, like maybe a marathon or a triathlon or something like that. Or in some cases, if you have like a lifting session that's like 2.5 hours long, it might help a little. But even on long lifting sessions, it hasn't been shown to do much. So if you're just somebody who's like going to the gym, I probably wouldn't think about intra-workout carbs too much. But if you're somebody who's doing like long distance cardio or some kind of sport or something like that, then, carbs during the event tend to make a lot more sense.
A nice golf trip.
Yeah. Yeah, you really burning the calories out there on the golf cart.
Hey, I disc golf, and that shit's actually, it's pretty physical because you're like hiking around.
No, disc golf for sure, because you're like walking through the woods.
But yeah, golfing, does anyone golf without a cart?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. But you're still walking on sidewalks and stuff, so.
Sure. You could be doing like a double golf day.
That's not entirely true. I've only been to like one golf course, so I don't know how they all work, but they probably don't all have sidewalks.
You're not a prolific golfer?
No.
I went golfing twice, and I did that Top Golf thing once.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I could be a professional.
I think whatever the situation is, I think it definitely doesn't qualify as hiking like disc golf does.
Yeah, disc golf is like out in the woods and shit.
Yeah.
Not manicured golf lawns.
Yeah.
My thing is like, if you're wearing khakis and a polo, you're probably not working out.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
The takeaway there is that you definitely don't need to eat before every workout. You don't need to necessarily do anything special with carbs before every workout. But eating beforehand, and especially carbohydrates, can improve performance for some sessions, particularly if you're training hard, you're training for a long time, or you're training fasted.
But if you get like nauseous or feeling gross, if you eat before you work out, maybe you don't need to do it. Is that what? Okay.
And I'm kind of the opposite way. Like if I don't eat before I work out, I feel pretty weird. So I have to have like something in my stomach when I go to work out. So there's a huge part of personal preference. But if your personal preference is, I don't really care, maybe you could lean towards some carbs before the workout. All right, let's talk about our myth of the week this week, which is that you can't be vegan if you're allergic to soy.
I see this one a lot. Like people on Reddit will ask in the vegan subreddit of like, oh, I just like watched this documentary and it was really awful. But I'm allergic to soy. Can I even do this? Like, what would I eat? Yeah, it's a very common question. I think soy allergy is one of the more common allergies. It's not like common as far as people go. Yeah. But as far as people with food allergies go, soy is pretty common. Yeah. Like there's definitely, and spoiler alert, there's a lot of soy-free vegans and a lot of gluten-free vegans. Yeah. You can definitely do it. You just have to find alternatives. Right. And soy is kind of tricky, actually, because they put that soy lecithin in a lot of things. Yeah. That a lot of packaged stuff. Yeah. So there are alternatives for actual protein sources, like vital wheat gluten. You can even get some protein from beans, lentils. You can do various forms of like pea proteins, stuff like that. So there are definitely options out there. And as far as like building meals around it, what do you think some of the best replacements are for soy? Like the best replacements for a tofu, I guess. Or something. Yeah. So for tofu specifically, they actually make a lot of soy-free tofus that you can find in grocery stores even. I've seen the fava bean one seems to be the most popular, and that one's like 90% protein. So it's actually like almost twice as much protein on a calorie basis as like a soy tofu anyways. So like a lot of people are eating the fava bean tofu even if they're not allergic to soy, because that one was like so popular. But they also make like a pumpkin seed variety and a chickpea tofu. But I think you can make your own tofu out of like any bean or like lentils and stuff at home. Yeah. And then for TVP is another big protein source that comes from soy, but they make a TPP, textured pea protein. I forgot about that one, yeah. Yeah, and that, you can pretty much use it exactly the same way. Yeah, that's probably a real good go-to. Yeah. And then also, if you look at, we were talking about forks over knives earlier, if you look at like whole food plant-based communities and stuff, they don't tend to use a lot of soy anyway. They minimize tofu to a certain extent. Yeah. So maybe you can get some ideas on, what to eat there, and that's totally vegan. So yeah, it's going to be, spoiler alert, it's going to be beans and lentils for the most part. But. Yeah. And then the other one is like edamame puffs, which I use a lot in recipes. They actually make a pea protein puff that has like similar macros and can be used the same way. Yeah. So a lot of pea swap-ins for soy-based products coming out. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely something you'll have to plan around, but you can certainly be a vegan without eating soy, especially if you don't necessarily care about protein all that much. It's going to be pretty easy. Yeah, and the other thing that I like about having like TPP and like pea protein puffs and various non-soy tofus is that it makes substituting ingredients in a recipe to make it soy-free really easy. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, like pretty easy swaps. If you are soy-free and need some high-protein recipes, I have a soy-free tag and a soy-free option tag on the Protein Deficient Vegan website. Mm-hmm. So it makes it easy to find things for your soy-free needs. Also, in your protein database, you have a soy-free button. So you can look through. Yeah. Yeah, maybe you can find some new soy-free options for protein sources. Yeah, cool. So yeah, definitely can be vegan and soy-free. There you go. You heard it here first. Or it might be harder at restaurants is my only thought. That'd be tricky. Yeah, you probably just have to say no. Well, I don't know. You'd have to probably ask what they use in everything. Yeah, I think especially because soy sauce is used a lot in various vegan foods. You know what's funny is for a long time, I don't know why, but I'd never thought of soy sauce as actually having soy in it. That sounds pretty stupid, but I just thought it was, I don't know what I thought it was. Yeah. So does soy milk. That makes sense. And miso paste. Because I know you can milk soy. Yeah. Soybeans have nipples, so you can milk those. So that made sense to me, right? Anyway. But yeah, I do think eating out could be trickier. But I think if you're doing that, you'd probably just look at the menu ahead of time and hopefully be able to find some options.
There you go. It seems like a lot of restaurants lean into seitan more than they do soy options these days. I'm always kind of excited to find soy options, but most of them do have some kind of seitan.
Or like Beyond or Impossible, which a lot of the meat alternatives that you'll find in the frozen food section are soy-free and sometimes even gluten-free. So
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Lots of options. You just might have to hunt around for them a little bit. Cool. Well, I think that is it for this week. If you guys could rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a lot. Also, you can leave comments on Spotify and YouTube. That's pretty cool. We like interacting with people there. And then we have the Deficient Vegans Discord server if you want to come in and hang out with our community and chat with us. We talk about a lot of different things in there. And you can find the link to the Discord in the show notes, as well as links to our websites and our Instagrams, other social media, things like that. All right. You want to say bye?
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.